Sheffield board. Thank you for turning out after no doubt long days and giving up the opportunity to be at home with your families or whoever else you might choose to be at home with. This is our annual general meeting, which we are required to hold every year, but which is a very important part of our accountability as a board to you as shareholders, and your opportunity as shareholders to set the direction for your company over the next 12 to 18 months, and we'll come on to that a little bit later. But it's also an opportunity for us to go through a number of other things. So you'll have seen, I hope, the agenda on your papers. There's a bit of formality to the meeting, so some of you will have voting forms. If you haven't got some voting forms, don't worry, you shouldn't have any. If you have got some voting forms, on 3 occasions during the course of the evening, we'll ask you to fill in one of those forms, the appropriately coloured one, and hand it in to somebody who will pass amongst you and collect it. Those are the formal resolutions that we need to take votes on to do the things that we're required by effectively our constitution. So there is some formality there, but I hope also there's an opportunity for particularly Andy and the new Deputy Chief Executive Yvonne to talk about not what we've done, but about where we're going, what we're doing, the opportunities available. I'm sure threats to general practice and the health system as a whole will come up at some point, but the opportunities I hope you will discover during the course of the night substantially outweigh those, and PCS is your company to help you as general practitioners take the best advantage of the opportunities that are around and to be influential in the system. So that's our agenda, and we start with an overview of the past year, and you should all have seen or have on your table a copy of our annual report. Now I hope you'll be delighted to see that it's not 50 pages thick. It's a relatively precise summary of what we've been doing, and it acts in a couple of ways. The first thing is it gives us, as your board and the executive and the staff who run the company, the opportunity to reflect. Because like you, the world moves on at a phenomenal pace, and if you don't stop to think about what you've been doing, then you just let it go by. It gives us an opportunity to review performance and explain about our performance as a company and the things we do to you, the owners of the company. I hope it celebrates some successes, something that we don't do often enough in public service, is celebrate the successes of the system, and there are many across the whole system, and certainly PCS has its successes. We hope it provides reassurance and assurance to you, our shareholders, that we are doing what we're meant to be doing. And please feel free if you don't think that's the case, and if you don't think that our annual report sets out how we've achieved what we were meant to be achieving through the business plan that you approved last year, then by all means do say something to us about that. And finally, where we've been helps to inform where we need to go, which probably is the more important part. So let me just pick out a few things. It aims to identify our key achievements, ours as a company, which includes you, our shareholders. And these are some of the headlines. I'll just very briefly run through them. We have seen increased investment into general practice. PCS now holds more contracts. There's a greater variety of things that are happening in general practice on your behalf, not necessarily in every individual practice. And we are seeing the reach of primary care expand and extend itself. Not necessarily as far and as fast as we would like. That's not down to us, that's down to other parts of the system. We hope, we think, we've provided opportunities to create a more diverse practice clinical team at relatively low risk through things like the National Clinical Pharmacist Pilot and the work we've been doing around physios. And I hope that many of you will have seen that and felt the benefit of it. We have retained contracts within the city. So rather than practices that have been struggling, finding their contracts going off to other external providers, we've managed to help practices to maintain their contracts. In some cases we have by agreement and in line with our policy which you've approved, taken control of those practices. We've improved access to a wide range of service for your patients, things like the extended access services and so on, that are available for your patients and hopefully in some ways help to manage the workload. And then one that's much less tangible is that we put an enormous amount of effort into strengthening relationships and partnerships. The NHS finds itself in a very difficult position at the moment. Usually, about 2 years ago, the government would have reorganised it all again, which is generally a very good way of avoiding dealing with the problem, as we all know. But because of other pressing matters, they haven't reorganised it. So we're busily trying to make a system that nobody ever designed to be like it was or is. We're trying to make that system work. Key to that are the relationships and partnerships that we're building at local level through what you'll hear about, the Accountable Care Partnership, at regional level and sub-regional level with the integrated care system and various other things. And I'm delighted to say we're getting more and more involved on your behalf at trying to influence national strategy. And Andy's now sitting on a couple of groups, and indeed has been down at the King's Fund today trying to put our collective views into the system, because eventually the time will come when the government will reorganise what's happening in the health service, and we want them to be taking strong account of the needs of primary care. Now, I'm going to stop there because those are the headlines. If you can read everything in the annual report, what I'm going to do is hand over to Michelle, our Director of Finance, who's going to talk about the annual accounts.